So let's move to our final topic. We've gone through several really important and specific measurable goals: qualifying for public financing, participation in the debates, winning the primary, and then redefining 4%, 100,000 votes as a win for a movement-based campaign. Let's talk about beyond the life of this campaign or during the life of this campaign. How is this campaign about more than asking for and being given power by voters, by people in the state? And how is this campaign more about creating movement structures across the state that can build power for themselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a moment ago, I said the goal is 100,000 votes, 4%. That's the big goal. That's the top level goal. The job that has to be done in order for this to be an effective movement building campaign is for us to get 1%. That's about 25,000 votes. And if we get that 25,000 votes, the Green Party maintains its ballot line going into 2028. When we have Baltimore City elections. One of the most effective campaigns we've ever ran, a campaign you and I worked on, was Franca Mueller-Paz's campaign in 2020. Franca got 35% running an exciting and uplifting campaign during the COVID state of emergency and during all of the despair that we were going through as a country in 2020. She gave hope to people at a time when there was no hope. She gave excitement to people who had checked out of politics. And that was a Baltimore City Council race. So if we get 1% in this race, that means that January of 2025, people who want to follow in Franca's footsteps and run for Baltimore City Council on a green vision and a green agenda can go to the State Board of Elections or the local Board of Elections, file for office, they can participate in a public financing program, and they can follow in the tracks that we are doing. I don't know if
I could just break in there, Andy. Hope is great, and I'm all for hope, but there were other outcomes with that campaign, right? The winner of that campaign improved his constituent services and introduced a reparations bill in order to prove his progressive bona fides, because he had just been challenged across East Baltimore on both his commitment to social justice and his commitment to taking care of the residents of his councilmanic district, right?
Yes, and then he lost in the primary in 2024 to a progressive labor candidate. So when we talk about redefining winning, I think we can look at it and say a race like Franca's race had real material impacts on the outcome of people in that district and across the city. I think it's probably true that Franca also helped get the city to negotiate something that allowed young people to have better access to Wi-Fi. Now, is what they negotiated what we would have done? No, but without Franca in that race, it is very unlikely that the mayor would have made a deal with Comcast that allowed more young people to have access to the internet during a time when they were stuck at home from school. So green campaigns can have material impacts outside of winning and holding power. I think that's a really good point here. And I think that the role that Franca's campaign played in making sure that Robert Stokes, A, became more progressive, and B, eventually lost his seat to a person more progressive than him, is undoubtable. It is absolutely the case. And so if we get 1% in this race, we set up for a really exciting Baltimore City election in 2026 or in 2028. Beyond that, I think we show people what can be done here. I will often say to people, I'm not the perfect candidate. I don't think you're the perfect candidate. I think that we are people who know how to do this and are excited to do it and have the will and the skill and the goal and the role identified, and we're putting the work in. But I think we can open the door for other folks, whether they are Greens, whether they're Ujima People's Progress Party, whether they're Working Class Party, Libertarians, or some yet to be named party that is going to funnel the anger that has come against the two-party system into a constructive alternative that begins to move Maryland toward a more just, more democratic, more ecologically wise, and more peaceful state. And I think that uh, in addition to the aspirational parts of it, there's some real material aspects that come out of it too. Those 500 people that we get that are going to be our core greens who are helping win the primary, they're going to help us build the bench in the future. The people that we hire in this campaign are going to have the kind of campaign skills that they can use to help those people who are the new bench, or who are the bench who's going to move up and run in the future, to have good campaign staff. They're going to be local organizers. They're going to run ballot initiatives. They're going to help build the Green Party. They're going to help build alternative parties. They're going to push for debate inclusion. And we're going to be able to take those lists of people that we have from gathering the public financing and help support people in each of the 6 counties across the state that have public financing and want to run and challenge the system. I don't believe that we're going to become the next governor and lieutenant governor. And I'm not shy to say that. We said that to the Baltimore Banner. We said that to the Talbot Spy, and we say that almost everywhere. But I do believe the work that we're doing right now is going to construct the institution and the idea that allows people in the future to win from outside of the two-party system and show Maryland as a leader in the kind of democracy we need if we want to get out of the polarization, oligarchy, death, and destruction that the two parties have us in right now. So I think there's some real tangible things, lists of people who will donate, people with the capacity to run campaigns, excited organizers with a vision and a strategy, ballot access for Baltimore City races in 2028 and for other races in 2028. And I also think there's some more abstract things which are showing people a vision of a world that can be different by doing the different thing right here and right now, and making sure that we leave something better at the end of this race than the way that we found it when we started this race.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, you asked me about why I decided to run, and this is why I'm here, right? This is the movement building. And I expressed my fondness for future focus, but I think if you've been following with these goals, we are building this movement during the campaign. This is not something that we hit 4% or we hit 1% and poof, these things happen. We are building a more robust, healthier multi-party democracy by participating in public financing, by opening the debates to all candidates, by shining a light and collaborating with local residents and organizers in Frederick County who don't want a big stadium in their neighborhood, right? By collaborating with folks in Allegheny County where the price of water is too damn high, right? These are the type of issues that will get forgotten and swept under the rug because the people in power are taking checks from those who profit from the status quo. So during this campaign, we have an opportunity, in part because we're not aiming for 51% and trying to be moderately acceptable to a small majority of people, because we're able to take radical positions and expand the conversation and shed light on issues that folks in power would rather not have the light shown on. These are some of the things we can build movement during the campaign, and we can also set a foundation for future movement building.
Yeah, I want to say 2 things, and then when I appreciate folks who have been listening this whole time. I want to leave with these 2 things, and then we will get toward closing out. The first thing is the Maryland Green Party has been on the ballot for 25 years, and that is an amazing feat for small parties in the United States. Typically what happens is a party bubbles up for a couple of years, a couple of cycles, and all of this stuff that we're talking about is really hard to do and really hard to explain to people. So then it dissipates and it goes away, and then some new party bubbles up. But the Green Party has been on the ballot in Maryland for 25 years, which is a really worthwhile feat. And I think for much of that 25 years, certainly the last part of that 25 years, we have gotten so focused on staying around so that people have additional choices that we haven't been able to invest the time and energy in using those choices to change the outcomes. I think over the course of the next 25 years, if we are successful, we will be able to use the work that we are doing here to change the outcomes for people who are living in Maryland right now and dealing with prices that are too high, with politicians that are not responsive, with a climate and an environment that is becoming more threatening, and with an economy that is not designed to work for the future. And so first 25 years, we did an amazing work, and people have lived and died in pursuing that, and we need to honor that work. The next 25 years, we need to shift the focus and start being about changing outcomes so that Marylanders have a better life and a better opportunity than they have had before. So I think that's one really important thing to say here. I think the other really important thing to say here is that it may not be the Green Party at the end of that 25 years that is the one that is doing this transformative work, but we are here right now. And what we talked about at your launch party, what I talked about at your launch party was this quote from Femi Tewu, who wrote a book called Reconsidering Reparations. And what he argues in this is that each of us need to do the work that we can in order to build the kind of institutions that allow the world to be changed by people who come after us. And I think that we are very much doing that work right now. And I think that this is that kind of project. It is that kind of generational work that may not get us the result that we want, but helps to move the ball closer to the goal line that we need to get to. Generations and generations of people in the best struggles in the world have fought and died before they see the outcomes of their struggle. And I hope that we see the outcome of our struggle. But I know that if we do this work to build this alternative, to build this movement, to build this grassroots vision of a future that works for everybody, we can be in a place where we leave that gift to the people who come after us, and we are happy and proud with the work that we've done, even if we don't see see all of the results. Building a new world against the 500 years of racist global capitalist domination is going to take time, and we're doing that work, and this campaign is part of that work. And I want folks to understand that it doesn't stop a year from today. I mean, we're going to stop a year from today and take a little bit of rest because it's going to be a long time. But the work doesn't stop after that. The work continues. This is about building a constructive alternative to a terrible world that we see around us so that people who come after us have an alternative to do something better.